When Beyoncé dropped her surprise track, Bow Down, in 2013, fans were caught off guard. The song wasn't the usual polished, empowering anthem people expected. It was aggressive, unfiltered, and laced with confidence that sounded almost confrontational. And one person who didn't hold back her thoughts? Keyshia Cole. Just hours after the song hit the internet, Keyshia took to Twitter and lit up the timeline. First, women need to stick together. Now bitches bow down. Smay. It was blunt. It was public, and it shook the fan base. The Bayhive swarmed instantly, accusing her of jealousy, clout chasing, or just flat out disrespecting a queen. But Keyshia wasn't backing down. To many, it looked like she was starting beef out of nowhere. But in reality, there was something deeper brewing, something that had been simmering long before that tweet ever went viral. And what Keyshia said next revealed just how personal it really was. The internet painted Keyshia as bitter, but when she finally addressed the backlash, her explanation caught people off guard. In an interview months later, she made it clear this wasn't some random hate. She actually respected Beyoncé. She even admired her. But to Keyshia, Bow Down hit a nerve, not because of the beat, not because of the fame, but because of the message. We tell young girls to stand up for themselves, she said, to not let anyone belittle them. Then we turn around and say, bow down. That contradiction, she claimed, felt like betrayal, especially coming from someone she once looked up to. Behind the scenes, the industry responded fast. The Dream, a top-tier producer and longtime Beyoncé collaborator, publicly distanced himself from Keyshia. He even canceled a possible collaboration, saying he couldn't work with anyone who disrespected Beyoncé. That move sent a loud message. In this industry, speaking out, especially against someone like Bey, comes at a cost. But the fallout didn't stop there. Once Keyshia voiced her opinion, it was like a silent wall went up in the industry. Major names stopped calling. Radio spins dropped. Even collaborations that had been in the works quietly disappeared. The message wasn't loud, but it was clear. You don't challenge Beyoncé and walk away untouched. Even Kelly Rowland chimed in. In an interview, she didn't mention Keyshia by name, but the tone was unmistakable. Women tearing each other down. I'm not here for it, she said. Fans took that as a direct shot, and the Bayhive ran with it. On Reddit and forums, people dissected every word Keyshia had ever said about other female artists. Suddenly, she was being labeled as jealous, difficult, even washed. But what got lost in the noise? The fact that Keyshia had built her career from the ground up. No machine, no massive cosign, just raw talent and pain that people connected with. Still, after the tweets, it felt like the room went silent. Invitations stopped. Awards shows overlooked her. And behind closed doors, some even suggested she'd been quietly blackballed. But Keyshia didn't fold. And just when it looked like she was out of the picture, the story took an unexpected turn. Years passed, the hype died down, but Keyshia never fully explained what went down until one quiet moment during an interview, when she finally peeled back the curtain. I never hated Beyoncé, she said. I was just hurt. I felt like we were being told one thing, then shown another. Her voice wasn't angry anymore. It was tired, honest. That moment changed how people saw the whole situation. This wasn't about clout or competition. It was about someone speaking from a place of frustration and not knowing how to say it the right way. And in a twist nobody expected, Beyoncé's camp didn't clap back. No statements, no shade, nothing, just silence. And then something even more surprising, support. In 2023, Beyoncé's sister Solange showed love to Keyshia at a private industry event. A few months later, Keyshia posted a birthday video where she casually thanked Bey and Solange for reaching out. No drama, no cameras, just a nod of respect, like old wounds had finally healed. The feud that once seemed like a career ender, it turned into something else, a moment of reflection, a reminder that even icons are human, and that sometimes the loudest part of the story isn't the fight, it's what comes after. But even with peace on the surface, some things still haven't been forgotten. Over a decade later, people still talk about that tweak, not because it was scandalous, but because it said something louder than the words themselves. Keyshia Cole stood in the middle of a massive power structure and called it out. And whether you agreed with her or not, the fallout revealed something uncomfortable about the music industry. In an era where empowerment is packaged and sold, who gets to decide what's authentic? Keyshia wasn't a media darling. She wasn't protected by billion-dollar PR machines. So when she spoke, it wasn't filtered. It wasn't polished, it was real, and that made her dangerous. The reaction to her words? It wasn't just fans dragging her on Twitter. It was an entire system quietly pressing mute. And that's what people are starting to recognize now. This wasn't just a beef. It was a blueprint, a look at what happens when someone breaks the script. Even today, newer artists walk the same tightrope. Say the wrong thing about the wrong person, and your career can shift overnight. But Keyshia never begged to be let back in. She kept releasing music, kept speaking her mind. And whether people agreed or not, they listened. Because as much as the industry tries to control the narrative, authentic voices always find a way through. In the end, this wasn't really about Beyoncé. It wasn't even just about a tweet. It was about what happens when someone dares to challenge the system from the inside and does it without a filter. Keyshia Cole didn't play by the industry's rules, and she paid the price for it. But she also did something that most artists wouldn't dare. She spoke her truth, even when it cost her everything. And maybe that's why her story still sticks. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't polished, but it was real. In a world where image is everything, sometimes the most powerful move is saying what you really feel, even if no one wants to hear it. So next time you see an artist disappear from the spotlight, ask yourself, did they really fall off? Or did they just stop playing along?